Hello and welcome to La Rosa Reads. I'm Denise La Rosa, and today I am super excited to share my favorite reads of the year so far by tier ranking every five-star read that I've read. So before we get into all the fun of tier ranking my five-star reads of quarters 1, 2, and 3, I thought I would share the books that I hauled today from a new bookstore. At least it's new to me. So the Mystery Lovers Bookshop is located in Oakmont, Pennsylvania. It was so quaint, so fun, and I'm turning into a mystery girly. So this was the perfect spot for me on a fall crisp Saturday. I had fun grabbing 3 books, and I want to share them with you before we do our tier ranking duties. The first book that I spotted at the bookstore just grabbed me immediately because there was a lovely cat on the cover. It is titled The Restaurant of Lost Recipes. I love books that are cozy, warm, and mysterious. And if you've got a cat, you've got La Rosa reading your book. I also grabbed a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time. I actually watched the film years and years ago because it had the one, the only Denzel Washington as its star, and that is Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley. I am late to the Walter Mosley party, and I'm embarrassed to say that as a Black, well-read girl, I have not read from this wonderful, masterful Black author. But I know I'm going to have a good time with this series, and this is the first book in the series. I'm looking forward to reading it and rewatching that film. And last but not least, the book that I picked up today, the third book, is another cat feature, and it's nonfiction. So it's not a mystery, or is it? Because I do find cats to be mysterious. The title of this one is The Interpretation of Cats. Its subtitle is Understanding the Psychology of Our Feline Companions. I love cats. I'm so sad that I haven't been a cat owner since 2015 when my dear cat Ailey passed away. But I am still a cat lover through and through. I have relatives who are cat owners, and I love visiting them and their feline family. And I can't wait to learn more about cats in this book. They are mysterious, they're fun, they're loving, they are entertaining, if I do say so myself. So I thought I would have a little bit of fun by tier ranking my five-star reads. For quarters 1 and 2, I have videos that I shared with all of you, my five-star reads of each quarter, as opposed to in the past where I had my top 5 favorite reads. It's just been hard for me to identify a favorite read, so I just thought it would be easier for me to share my five-star reads, all of them for each quarter. As I'm sharing my five-star reads of quarter 3, I'm ready to organize some more. So I've got these five-star reads, but I really want to find an organizational system to really parse out and figure out what what are the creme de la creme from my reading experience so far this year. And I find it to be interesting that I haven't been able to identify a five-star read. None have been jumping out at me initially, so I'm hoping this tier ranking system will help me see who rises to the top. So here we are. I thought I'd start with quarter 3 because these are the five-star reads that I haven't shared with you so far. And here they are right in front of us. You can see all of them. It was a pretty successful reading quarter for me, definitely better than quarter 2. Quarter 2 was not giving, but quarter 3, it did its thing. So if I'm looking at these books, oh my goodness, I want to start with Out on a Limb. That was a wonderfully fun romance novel that really gave us a new vibe to romance, dealing with 2 main characters, 2 lovers to be, who are living with physical disabilities. I was swept away by it, not just for the concept and the representation, but for how the author did a wonderful job of balancing the seriousness of some of the challenges that each of the characters faced, along with lacing in, interweaving a romance that was spicy and fun, and also having a rich plot line. So My goodness, my categories here are masterpieces are the top, treasures are like the next place. Then we have stunners and gems. If I were to rank out on a limb, ooh, goodness, I would definitely say it was a treasure. I really treasured it. I thought it was doing everything that it set out to do. It is definitely a book that I treasure and will remember. It's a very memorable book. And then we have Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books. I'm not going to say any more other than it is a masterpiece in my heart and mind. Loved it, loved it, loved it. What You Leave Behind by Wanda M. Morris is a book that I devoured. It was a page turner for sure. We are dealing with gentrification, but Wanda M. Morris adds a thriller vibe to this topic and makes it really mysterious. And we have crimes being committed, people going missing, people being found dead. And it's all connected to the goal of gentrifying this neighborhood. I enjoyed it. I definitely treasure it. Would I say it's a masterpiece? Probably not. Then there is Sisters with a Side of Greens. I had so much fun with this book. We have two older Black sisters, and their mother has left behind this famous, well, I shouldn't say famous, infamous seasoning recipe. But this seasoning brings the sisters together in very unconventional ways, along with a stranger. I say this is a stunner. I couldn't stop turning the page. I had fun with it. I treasure it to a certain extent, but it definitely gave me temporary feels. It was a feel-good read. I don't think it's a treasurable read. And then there was The Faculty Lounge. You guys, this book, as an educator and a student, I just relished in every word. I feel like it was promoted in a way that was very deceiving. So the book opens up with a death. An 82-year-old substitute teacher who used to teach at this school where he's now substituting, but had retired, is found dead in the faculty lounge. I thought we were going to have a murder mystery to solve. Instead of having a murder mystery to solve, we have character development to dive into. We end up learning more about all the people who make the school run and operate and make school happen. We educators and school leaders are humans, and you know that age-old thought of thinking that your teachers live at the school is something that no matter how old you are, some students tend to forget that we also have lives. We are human, we are flawed. And this book does a wonderful job of uncovering that. It was a masterpiece for me, for sure. Masterpiece it is. And Finding Langston, a middle grade novel that I really fell upon. It had been on my TBR for a while. I was perusing my local library, came across it and thought, okay, now might be a good time to read it. And what I got was a gem, or was it a masterpiece? As I began to read, and the first 20 pages or so, I thought, this is a gem. This is totally a gem. And then I continued to read about Langston, this young Black boy in the 1940s whose mother passes away of illness, and that leads his father to make the decision to migrate north. They are living in the South, and he decides to migrate north to Chicago. He figured now's a better time than ever. You know, what else are we going to do? Because my wife, your mother, is no longer with us, and so much of our identity and our lifestyle in the South is centered on your mother. Let's try to create a new life for ourselves. And Langston loves the library. He loves books. He discovers a lot in the Chicago library as he's also discovering about himself, new things about himself and his father and this new city he's been brought to. And my goodness, by the time I got to the end, this book went from a gem to a masterpiece. Last but not least, for quarter three, and then we'll move on to quarters 2 and 1, is That Librarian by real life librarian Amanda Jones, who is tackling the issue, the challenge of banned books. I enjoyed it. It was a gem for me. Yes, I loved it dearly. Oh, some of these books. Okay, this is interesting. So I have two middle grade books that are being represented here in quarter two. I wouldn't say today that they were masterpieces, but they were both definitely gems. We have From the Front Desk of Zoe Washington, and I speak more about all of these books in my quarter two favorite reads or 5-star reads video. So check that out if you haven't already. I'll share more with you in that video. But these two, From the Desk of Zoe Washington and Other Words for Home, were gems. Enough said. If I think about Becoming by Michelle Obama, yes, we think we know who these individuals are as spectators, as observers, but their memoirs should speak to us in ways that, number one, resonates with us, that we can find connections with those individuals because they're seen as these large figures, but they're also just like you and me. We also should learn something new about them that helps us understand why they are public figures, why they have made such a huge impact on society and even perhaps the world. Michelle Obama's Becoming did all of that and then some. It is a masterpiece. She lets us in a very authentic, genuine way, and I just loved her for it. Speaking of public figures who did all of that and then some, we have Mariah Carey. I'm bumping this straight to masterpiece. Just masterfully done. This memoir, she sings, she's talking, and she does all the things that I just shared that I'm looking for in a memoir and more. I felt like I knew and understood Mariah Carey's essence more after listening to this book. I listened to it on audiobook, and I highly recommend that you listen to both Becoming and The Meaning of Mariah Carey via audio, because hearing those two women speak to their truth was so powerful. Then we have The Kiss Countdown, a romance novel that I found myself just devouring, loving every page. I enjoyed both the male protagonist and the female protagonist. They worked together. It was far-fetched, but also entertaining and engaging nonetheless. I would say this book was a stunner. It was a page turner, and it's one that I just closed the book on that last page and had a smile on my face. A good time indeed. Then we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time. I enjoyed that element of time travel, but it was done in a very unique way of time traveling backwards and not in a sequential way as far as like, okay, it's the day before, then it's 5 years before, then it's 2 years before a major incident occurred. It was a time. I too, for this one, as well as The Kiss Countdown, will say they're stunners. They were major page turners. I had fun with them. It was all good. Okay, your girl was having a good time in quarter one. It was a good time. That first quarter of the year was a good time, but I do remember finding myself enjoying the reads and giving, as you can see, a decent amount of books 5 stars, but not really getting the goosebumps, chills, like swept away feeling from any of them. So I'm glad that I'm venturing back to see months later, how am I feeling about these reads? So we have The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. That was my first 5-star read of 2024. It's a masterpiece. Let's just bump that up. Then we have the legendary, my girl, Miss Ann Petrie with Country Place. I fell in love with her with The Street, and Country Place being my second Ann Petrie book. I'm telling you, it did not disappoint. I will say it is, a masterpiece, but as I moved it, I thought about the street. And that definitely is masterpiece material, but I'm hesitant to say Country Place is just as masterful. Let's make it a treasure. I'm not feeling content with it being a masterpiece, but it was definitely a good time. The Color of Water, James McBride's memoir, this is truly a masterpiece. Dear Black Girl by Asia Wilson, wonderful two-time, I believe, MVP, WNBA MVP player, is a gem. It's one of those books that I would highly recommend you gift to a young Black girl in your life. It could be a nice graduation gift. Is it like literary perfection? Absolutely not. But it's a good time. It's a good book that drops some nuggets of wisdom and is a lot of fun at the same time. African Town, oh my goodness. Oh, this book. This book did something to me. The way this was written, and it takes inspiration from real people. It just humanized the experience of the enslaved. I think often books about enslavement in America are just factual and don't speak to the human element, to the human experience, the human condition. This book did, and I will never forget it. These two books, In Every Mirror She's Black and Everything Is Not Enough, are a duo, a duology. I could not stop turning the page with both. I'm going to say they're stunners. I wouldn't put them at masterpiece level, but I'm telling you, that's an auto by author for me for sure. Then we have The House of Eve, which has been much talked about. It was riveting. It was taking two Black women who had two very different lived experiences, and it just opened your eyes and heart and mind to what it means to be a woman and to mother in America. I will say, and to do it as a Black woman, right? What I will say is that ending, y'all, this book was like a gem, and then it moved to a stunner by the end. I was blown away with that ending. It was worth every page that I read up to that point. Finally, we have What You Are Looking For Is in the Library. It was sweet. It was a gem. No more, no less. It was a great time, and I'm so glad that I read it. And there we are. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yay! Here are my masterpieces, you guys, of quarters 1, 2, and 3. I wonder what will land in the masterpiece category for quarter 4. We shall see. As I'm looking at these, it makes me really appreciate the reading year I've had so far. I think we've got a nice mixture of nonfiction, fiction. We've got middle grade represented. It's an interesting stack, definitely reflective of my personality and interests, that's for sure. So I am super excited with how this all turned out. Tell me what your 5-star reads have been of quarter 3. If you haven't already told me about quarters 1 and 2, I want to hear about those as well. And I hope you're doing great. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.